So our session is being recorded, so anyone that might miss a piece or whatever the case is, they'll still be able to follow up and yeah, we'll move together as a unit. Otherwise, weekly market forecast, guys, welcome. We're gonna get started. So we'll get into all of our list of pairs. Things are very exciting, quite exciting. We've been waiting a very long time for a week. Hopefully next week is the week. If it's not next week, it should be the week after, but things are shaping up very, very, very nice. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully it's just as exciting as I am excited about what I'm seeing right now. So most of our pairs, a lot of our pairs are playing to the T, which means something to us, or at least it should mean something to us. Not that we are able to predict or that we're able to, because that means absolutely nothing. Anyone can call a direction, anyone can call a turning point. Doesn't mean that you understood what was going on. Why we're happy about seeing what we are seeing now is because our previous analysis had reasons. And if we see price action following through, it means that our reasoning gives us, or at least enables us, to have some level of understanding or some type of an insight as to what's going to happen in the future. And that's what we want to have. We want to be able to plan for scenarios. And if we see a scenario playing out, then it means that we're able to, or might be able to, just take action. Anyway, let's do the things to be done. So AC. Aussie CAD, so just to go into just the most recent price action, right? Everyone can see we've got impulse, we've got correction. We're expecting the next impulsive move to at least complete maybe 90% rule or something like that on a higher time frame. But otherwise, most recent momentum. So in the most recent momentum, right, we've got this, or at least most recent price action, we've got this momentum, right? We want to trade in the direction of this momentum over here. Naturally, so I think long time ago, a very long time ago, we spoke about these equal lows here, this low and this low here. And then basically what we were looking for was for price action to break these equal lows. And then we were going to look for our reversal structure below these equal lows. And then I think we were also looking for last week, or there was a time we were looking for price action to stop somewhere inside of here. But nonetheless, we're going back to, or at least we're not going back to, but we're just now waiting for price action to tap into our POI, which we've had for the longest of time. I don't even know how many weeks we've had this point of interest there, but we've been waiting for price action to get here. Price action is finally close by. Now let's go back on our previous biases, or at least not our previous biases, but how, or at least our previous reasoning. Remember the equal lows, remember price action breaking below. Obviously now what we are looking for is some sort of a reversal structure to terminate where at our POI. We've got naturally this descending structure on our daily where we've got a first touch, we've got a second touch, and we've got a potential third touch termination where that aligns with one of our POIs that we're looking for price action to terminate by. We also have, obviously, we already, or at least last week, I remember us speaking about the fact that we've got this low, a break below this low, price action broke below, broke back above. So obviously we've got corrective price action. That's why we isolated this corrective structure. We could also have, we've got our left shoulder, we could have a potential head termination in this area here. Later, hopefully we'll get an opportunity for a right shoulder if we obviously miss the head formation, or at least the head entry for the potential inverse for the same move to the upside. So it doesn't really matter how we cut this cake. The price action looks absolutely beautiful for the bias that we have for the move that we're looking for. Now let's go down to a 4-hour. We'll look at a little bit of the most recent price action at least, or at least get an understanding of what we see happening here. So we've spoken about this descending structure, right? We're already expecting that third touch over there. But now most recent price action on a 4-hour. Let me do this just so that I can expand everything and let us look at this nicely. Cool. Anyway, so coming back into the 4-hour price action, right? We've broken below this low. Obviously, we spoke about it when we were looking at a daily, that yes, we've broken below. We expect that price action will terminate here. Maybe we might push break back above, come back at a later point in time and retest. Now, the 4 hours obviously here to give us those POIs, those points of interest. We already know that we're waiting already for this 4-hour POI, obviously just the momentum shift over there. If we just go and have a look at it quick and fast, or at least the two momentum shift areas, the POIs that we've got there, is simple enough. We're just looking for a bullish engulfing. We know that, okay, a lot of buyers came into the market for whatever reason. We have no idea, but that's where they came in. That's where we want to make decisions as well. To be a buyer, obviously. So buyers came in there, buyers came in there. We already have two POIs. Now, coming to this most recent price action over here, what we've got is this sort of, I guess, excuse me, I don't know why I'm burping so much. Maybe I just drank a little bit too much water before this session. But I expected my mouth might be dry, so I just drank a lot of water. We've got this descending structure here, obviously our support trend line. All we're doing is we're just isolating, obviously taking into account where are these support, or where are the most recent or extreme lows in this descending price action. We've isolated, we've got those lows, we've got a nice support trend line there. This support trend line does also function as a point of interest where price action can come at some point in time and test this support trend line for the upside continuation. So now you guys can see that we've got a lot going on inside of this area here. Things are looking very ripe for us to find upside continuation from this support. All we've got to do is just exercise the small bit of patience from 64 all the way down to, I don't know what, 24. 40 pips patience. That's all we need to exercise. 40 pips patience, and price is going to be where we want it to be for us to be able to make decisions. So AUDCAD is looking very hot for next week. Obviously, we're 100% bullish, looking for that upside price action. Maybe let's not be extra happy chappy. If we do find an entry inside of here, maybe let's look to target this high. Maybe let's look to ride it to the 90% rule. But yeah, if we're going to look to ride it all the way till there, then maybe we're going to have hands of steel. Or if price action is very impulsive, then let's do that. But otherwise, let's take it piece by piece. We'll break up the price action. We see this descending structure. Let's play this descending structure to this small 90% rule first. And then we'll see what price action does from there. Do we come back down, give us a right shoulder for upside continuation? We'll jump back in, or whatever the case is. But on AUDCAD, we waited very long for this. We waited very long for this. It's looking absolutely sexy. I think I'm going to take screenshots of these and put them as my wallpaper so I like good looking price action. I like it when the market is clear enough for you to make a decision that if this happens, I will do 1, 2, 3. What happened, or if none of what I expect to happen happens, then I'm not doing anything. That is so simple. It makes my job, so it makes trading feel like it's so easy. Like I could have just picked it up in the first 2 months of my journey. But AJ, so AJ, or at least the JPY code pairs have been pairs on this, at least on my set list, have been pairs that we haven't been really interested in. But now things are changing. So if we just look at the most recent price action, let's not bore ourselves with all of that higher time frame nonsense that we've been talking about for the longest of time. Let's look at what's exciting here. So otherwise, just most recent price action, right? On a daily, we've got characteristics of downtrend, right? Lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. So we want to trade in the direction of this small downtrend. Obviously, we've also got higher time frame or weekly reasons. If you go up to a weekly time frame, we've got other reasons why we're looking to sell from this area here and not looking to jump into long-term buys. Nonetheless, if we just look at what's going on here, most recent price action, we're stuck inside some sort of a range. This being the high of the range, this being the low of the range. Ever since we created these highs and these lows, price action has been creating structure, or at least rejecting the highs and the lows in some form, or whatever the case is. So naturally, so when we're stuck inside of a range, the two ways that we find probabilities is, number one, we either look to trade the high of the range to sell or the low of the range to buy, or number two, we look for the chart patterns, because chart patterns also give us an indication on where the next momentum could be. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to trade in the direction of the momentum, because the momentum has the volume behind it. We know we don't move the market, so we're always trying to trade wherever the volume is trading. That's how we get to TP. If the volume takes the price to TP. But otherwise, coming over to the setup, let's come back to the setup. So I think everything is very obvious there. You guys can see we've got an ascending structure, first touch there, second touch there. Naturally so, price action can come up, give us a third touch, which we'll be looking for some downside continuation. Also, where's the third touch? The third touch is at the high of this range, which we should be at the high of the range looking to sell and not to buy, because we're at resistance, and obviously we're expecting to see sellers at resistance. So things are looking very much extra fresh for us to be expecting a young sell from there. I'm sure you guys can see that all you just need to wait for is just for price action to break this high, and then you're looking, or your eyes are focused on some sort of a chart pattern that will give you a reason to make your decision. Now let's do this, go down to a 4-hour, isolate that PLI, and then we'll move on to some AU. So just to look back, or at least to see this PLI again that we've had there for the longest of time, price action just kept on missing it and kept on missing it. all it is just this nice bearish engulfing over here. Obviously, this shows us momentum that managed to break a couple of levels of structure. Ever since price action had that momentum, price action has never come back. These sellers are still in the market. Price has never tested them, put heat on them, anything. Their orders are still in profit. If this is a big seller, the reason why I'm trading at areas of momentum is because if this is an institution or whoever in the world that has unlimited supply of money, if this is them, if you had an unlimited supply of money and you could move the markets by buying or selling, if you wanted to sell at this specific price point here and price came back to this specific area, would you not sell with your millions and bazillions of money? Again, because you have the volume, the ability to do that. If you want price action to go down, you'll probably do that. So if this is a big seller, then we want to make decisions where we see people making the type of decisions that we want, or at least that we're trying to make. Nonetheless, let's go back to the most recent price action and see what's cooking here. So in terms of the price action, I guess we spoke about it indirectly on the daily, that we're just looking for price action to basically break this resistance or these equal highs over here. Once we've broken above these equal highs, our job is simple. We're looking for some sort of a reversal structure, be it a double top, be it an ascending structure, be it a head and shoulder structure, doesn't really matter. Any structure, reversal structure that allows us to find an entry at this POI or that terminates at this POI will allow us to jump in short. So everything looks very nice. It's very, very exciting, clear price action, easy to make decisions. I absolutely love what what we're going to run into next week. Let's just hope price action plays this game along, because some of the pairs have been playing off, or at least have been playing out very nicely. So AU, just to recap, higher time frame, we're inside of this ascending structure. We are expecting, or this is our own assumption, that this is a manipulation. This is a break out of the structure. Price broke out of the structure and back into the structure. It's a guess. It's our own hope that that's what's going on. And hopefully this is not what's going on, that we're coming back down all the way back down here. Hopefully that's not what's going on. Very much possible, but hopefully that's not what's going on. But otherwise, if we just come back to gathering all of the facts in terms of analysis and what we see on the chart, so that we're never ever trading how we feel, what we think. We've always got reasons supporting the decisions that we're going to make. Whether we want to buy, whether we want to sell, doesn't matter, because at any point in time, people are making money in all different directions. Those that leave the market with the money that they make are those that are trading some sort of a plan that they understand the probabilities of. And that's how people are making money in this game. It's that simple. Doesn't matter whether you're buying or whether you're selling, everyone's doing everything at any point in time, and they're all making money. So AU, if we get back to what we were doing. So basically, we did break back into structure, but if we just gather and just focus on the most recent price action, what we're looking at is this momentum here that obviously completely reversed all of this sell side momentum. So if someone was to argue with me and say, look, T.Mayne, there were so many sellers in this market, I would say, and my Uno reversal card back in that argument or in that situation would be, yes, there's an equal amount of buyers as well. So what does the fact that this impulsive move, or what information does this give you? Basically, if you went up high enough or on any sort of a time frame high enough, this would just be a rejection. Price broke below and we wicked back above and closed above this support structure over there. That's what it looks like. That's kind of what it is on one level or the other. But otherwise, cool. This is new momentum, right? This new momentum did manage to break and give us a new higher high. That's why we're considering the fact that, okay, cool, it's worth looking at, because we did manage to break above this previous area of supply. Nonetheless, coming back to just what we're looking at, since we have momentum, we're naturally focused on some sort of a corrective structure, or at least we're expecting for a corrective structure, and obviously for continuation of this momentum that we see on our left-hand side. So we already know, okay, cool, maybe we might be expecting some upside continuation. If we are expecting that upside continuation, where do we find probabilities, or what reasons can we create? Okay, first of all, before we even get there, let's just delete all of this stuff here, because I feel like this is not really relevant anymore. Yes, it looks nice or whatever, but it doesn't contribute to the decision that we're going to make in the future. All of that is done, whether you're in, whether you're not in, cool, fine. So AU, we're expecting price action to obviously break below these equal lows over here. Awesome. We've got a break below these equal lows. Obviously, we can see that this is still some momentum. So because there is momentum inside or involved in this move, we know that we need to be waiting for a reversal structure before we start making decisions, because we can't go because we assume price action is going to buy. We can't just buy into an obvious fact that market is just in the middle of a rally down. So on AU, we're going to exercise patience. We're waiting for a reversal structure. We have a move down. Anything can happen. We can descend, we can double bottom, we can head and shoulders. We don't know. But what we do know is that inside of this move over here, we see this bearish engulfing on a daily. Obviously, we're inside of this move now, meaning that we're inside of an area where we should be expecting things to change. We should be expecting all of this supply that's been involved, lower lows, lower highs. We should be expecting a change to happen inside of here. And for obviously now for there to be more demand involved in this market. So obviously what we're looking for, the first sign, first indication that price is maybe going to play our hand is when we start to see maybe a break of structure in the direction that we're looking to trade. If we don't have, almost, let me not say that. If we're not confident enough, let me change my English. If we're not confident enough, or if there's not enough reasons that give us the confidence to be able to take a risk entry inside of here when price does get here, then we know that things are simple. We wait for a reduced risk entry. Price needs to break structure in the direction we're trading first before we look for that entry. Then we know that at least, yes, there's a bunch of sellers involved inside of this market, but at least we waited for some sign of buyers before we decided that, okay, this market might reverse now. So nonetheless, let's do the things to be done. Go down to a 4-hour, have a look at this POI, and then obviously we move on to the next pair because we already know that we're bullish based off all the structure. Obviously, price action is throbbing down, so we need to wait for that reversal structure. If we just have a look here, there's that bullish engulfing over there. That's our obviously a source of demand that managed to break a couple of levels of structure, or whatever the case is. Maybe we can even say even that level of structure there, this is last demand or at least source of buyers. The price never really came back to. So obviously, if that's a big buyer, like we said in the last case, they'll probably protect their orders. That's kind of what we're expecting. If price gets here, this is where we're looking for whatever reversal structure. We're in an impulsive move now. We either wait for deceleration, so all of these sellers come out of the market, or we wait for a reversal structure, which will show us the exact same thing. These sellers exiting the market and obviously supply shifting into demand. Nonetheless, things are simple, nice and juicy. All we have to work off, I guess in this case, unfortunately, is the POI. If we want to force a structure of some sorts, the only structure that I feel safe forcing here is just the fact that we are making lower lows, lower highs. Take into account that as long as we're below this resistance trend line over here, this is still a seller's market. This is still some sort of a downtrend. Things are all good. Things are all good. So on AU, the reason why it does not have any red tag there is because obviously you can see we're in an impulsive phase and it's going to require a little bit more patience from us than the other pairs. So let's rather look at the other pairs rather than AU. And then once things start to get nice and hot for us on AU, then we look at AU again. So New Zealand dollar CAD, let's go up to a daily. I keep on checking the chats there just to make sure that no one's asking a question or saying anything. I don't want to leave anyone behind. So if you guys, maybe if I do say something that you don't understand or whatever, pop it in the chats. Every time I go on to another pair or a new pair, I do have a look at the chats quickly just to make sure everything is cool. Cool. So otherwise, New Zealand dollar CAD, if you just look at the daily, we've got momentum, or at least we've got momentum here. We've got a corrective structure there. Our setup from last week went straight into the dust. What we were looking at last week, and I think I don't want to ignore it like it didn't happen. Let's talk about it because it is important for us to see, even when price action maybe does not follow through or give us a setup or whatever the case is, what is our response in that case? And then also, did we take a trade or did we not take a trade or whatever the case is? Let's also talk about what our previous reasonings were and how the market showed us that we actually don't know what's really going on, and we are safe doing what we are currently doing or what we do every week. We are safe planning for scenarios, and if those scenarios happen, then we make decisions. If those scenarios don't happen, we sit on our hands. We're 100% safe doing that. So otherwise, last week, we spoke about this level of structure here that we broke below, broke back above, and obviously we're expecting a retest of this level of structure for the upside continuation. Price action did not even slow down in this area here, but cool. What we had, or at least if you guys go ahead and just look at the way that we analyze and the way that we plan to make decisions. Yes, we were looking for something to happen inside of this area, but if you remember, there was no POI, point of interest, for us to be able to use that we can try and look for some sort of a risk entry. So if you guys remember, what we were looking for last week was we were searching, literally searching for chart patterns, for third touches or whatever, for something to give us the probabilities. As much as we've got a bias or whatever the case is, we never ever force our bias and try and make decisions that are not there because we are focused on a specific thing. We're always, at the end of the day, the ultimate truth is what I see on the market or what I see in front of me. The chart is the ultimate truth, not what I think, not what I feel, not what happened. What's going on is the ultimate truth, what price action is doing. So obviously, all we've got to do is, I guess, just update and change and I guess just evolve with what's going on. But there's one thing that we're forgetting quickly. Remember, there was another setup that we were looking for. This was obviously the setup that we were looking for the past 2 weeks or whatever. Last week, we were scared, or at least we were preparing that if price action does want to run away from here, there was a trade that we were looking at. We had this POI, but remember the conditions for this POI. For us to be able to trade in this area, yes, there was a reaction, but we did not take a trade because our conditions were not met. Our conditions were that first we need to break this resistance. Only and when, if we ever do break this resistance, does this point of interest become valid. Why? Because we want to trade supply and we want to trade demand. If there is demand, yes, this is a bullish engulfing, right? This shows us a momentum shift. But if someone was in control, they would have broken a level of structure. If there's a big buyer that bought inside of here, this big buyer would have been able to push price action above this resistance. What does that mean to us? It means that the orders that came in from here are way more than the orders that sold the market from there. These simple things like a break of structure before we trade means so much if you understand why are you looking for a break of structure. But otherwise, we're safe. We just evolve with structure. Once the probabilities do align, I guess once the probabilities are sufficient enough for us to make money, we will make the money. Even if we exercise a ridiculous amount of patience. But the patience that we're exercising here is support trend line. That's the only POI that we've got on a 4-hour. That's the only thing that we can wait for. Market is moving fast. We've got to wait for a reversal structure to form. If there's a reversal structure that forms somewhere inside of here, then obviously that increases our probabilities. We can trade safely at the support trend line because it's a support and we should be expecting buying at a support in direction of our higher time frame momentum. So New Zealand dollar CAD, we're bullish, but there is no tag on this pair because you can see it requires some patience. So it won't be priority for next week, or it's not going to be something that we're looking at every minute of every day next week, because we can see it's going to require something to change for us to know buyers are now, or at least environment is safe for us to start looking for buys. New Zealand dollar yen. So New Zealand dollar yen came on the watch list in the middle of the week. Things changed very nicely so in the middle of all of this nonsense. So the reason why I decided to just add this pair back is because obviously the environment has then shown its hand, become a little bit more clear. Remember, we said that we're staying out of things because number one, we're waiting for chart patterns. We're waiting for things to become a little bit more clear to us. Are things a little bit more clear? Yes, for sure. If we look at higher time frame of this nonsense that's been going on, being the law of the range, I thought I had this drawing tool on. This being the law of the range, this being the high of the range, we can assume that maybe price action came to come and test the high of the range. Whether or not we came to my English almost ran away. Whether or not we actually came to test resistance doesn't really matter. Why? Because we're going to be trading the structures that we're finding. The structures are going to be the things that are going to help us trade, at least with some form of probability. So if we just have a look at what's going on here, we've got momentum, right? After this momentum, we've got a corrective structure. We've got a first touch. We've got a second touch. Obviously, there's something weird happening at the third touch. Now, because of the momentum being to the downside, we obviously want to sell, trading in the direction of this momentum. Where are we in terms of context? We're towards the high of the range. What are we seeing? We're seeing price action breaking resistance, closing above, closing back below. breaking a new resistance, closing above, closing back below. So yes, we're making higher highs and higher lows, but we're doing so in a corrective manner. So we're taking into account everything that we're seeing here on the daily, not to support our bullish bias, because someone can still be bullish and say higher highs, higher lows. When price gets to support, I'm going to look to buy. It's still 100% fine. But in this case, the only reason why I'm choosing to be bearish is because there is momentum that I can be bearish in the direction of. And in terms of chart patterns and structures, if I wait and exercise and sell at resistance, look at RR to this 90% rule. And I don't know if there's a structure here that you want to force or something. I don't know, whatever the case is. But I just see RR to the downside rather than RR up, because obviously RR, where am I going? The extreme highs of this overall range, which is here. The extreme lows of this overall range, which is here. Like, where's price action here? RR, obviously, there's more RR down to this extreme low rather than to this extreme high here. So things just make a lot more sense for us to then start to look at I almost said AJ, at New Zealand dollar yen, and at least see some form of probability here. Let's look at the 4-hour structure. So on a 4-hour, just isolating the structure, we've got this nonsense that we spoke about on a daily, this being the first touch, obviously being a second touch, or second and third, doesn't matter how you look at it, but it's a multi-touch. This is a resistance trend line, and this being the third touch. At the third touch, we had some sort of, I don't know, what do you want to call this, if you can call it anything, but we see some sellers, right? What we want to do is we want to trade in direction of the momentum that we're seeing now, doing what? Breaking levels of structure in the direction that we want to trade, which is we want to sell from a higher time frame perspective. Now, on a 4-hour, unfortunately, there is no POI that I can safely use. Yes, I can maybe say, okay, there's previous support that price broke, and obviously price can come back and retest if you want to make reasons. There's also another reason over here, level of structure that we broke above, broke back below, price also can come back and retest. But if we're really trying to force a point of interest, I did try and force a point of interest because New Zealand dollar yen, I'd rather be safe. I'd rather get the best entry because we inside some chop, and there is a lot of momentum. Like, the swings are big and heavy. So who's to say that price can't make it all the way up here, because she seems to be swinging nice and heavily. Otherwise, I did go down on a smaller time frame. I think it was a 15. On a 15-minute, to try and find a POI, and obviously there is a bearish engulfing there. I just wanted to show you guys there's a bearish engulfing over there. But even if maybe we look at this on a 4-hour, I guess someone somewhere in the world will also force their reasoning and say price stalled, or at least for 4 hours we had a doji, there was indecision. Then the next 4 hours there was this momentum shift. Unfortunately, maybe it's not a green candle or whatever the case is, but it is still some form of momentum shift. I do see a big seller coming in from this price region over here. So obviously if price gets there, nice chance for us to look to sell. So NJ, very nice and simple setup. We've got momentum, breaking structure. What we're waiting for is for our corrective structure that obviously terminates at our POI. And then obviously we're looking to gun her down to the low of this range. Hopefully she'll run all the way to the low of this range. Let's see. But otherwise, the setup looks very nice, guys. Your next week's setups just look so, you see when you're learning forex and you see all of these picture perfect setups in the textbook, that's what this setup looks like for next week. It's so rare that we find weeks like this. Makes me excited. And sometimes when price action is like this, market does total opposite. But otherwise, we trade safely. US30, maybe do we need to go up to the higher time frame for context? Let's just look at the 4-hour. Let's just keep it simple. So otherwise, maybe if we just want some little bit of context, US30 and NASDAQ, yes, we're allowing ourselves to make decisions in both directions, both buys and sells. But obviously, end of the day, we've got to come down and find probabilities in these directions. So I do see a little bit more RR to the upside on US30. Unfortunately, I would have loved to be a seller on US30 and not a buyer. But the structure is just forcing me to be a buyer because I can't force my own opinion or how I feel about the market on what's here. So otherwise, we've got this. Obviously, we broke the structure, made a new higher high. Obviously, yes, we decelerated, a lot of sellers, and all of this nonsense that we've been speaking about for the past weeks just turned into some type of large corrective structure. I don't know what you want to call this, but if we just make things very simple here and we just look at horizontal, if diagonals and all these things are confusing, let's just look at horizontal levels of structure just to make things clear. We've got an extreme high, we've got an extreme low. We broke below this level of structure, we broke back above. At a later point in time, we can come back to retest. What do we have here? We've got momentum breaking back into the structure, breaking a couple of levels of structure. We've got also after the momentum, we've got some corrective price action moving to the downside. So obviously, yes, there's momentum to the upside. We are seeing a lot of selling momentum as well, but I guess we're inside of the chop. And the safest thing to do is we trade at these levels of structure and we trade where we see the chart patterns because they can give us indication on where the next momentum could be. Let's delete all of this stuff and we'll go down onto an H1. There's the 4-hour. We're nice and bullish, I guess, just because of the structures and the possibilities are probably, I guess, places where we can trade. They are fairly nice alignments or at least places of confluence where we can trade with good probability. So on US30, if it has come down to an H1, so the 4-hour, I guess the 4-hour setup was fairly obvious. There's a third touch or whatever the case is, multi-touch structure over there that aligns there. But nonetheless, if US30 wants to send it from here, obviously with this new momentum that just came to the market now, what we can do is you guys do see we broke a couple of levels of structure inside of there on an H1. There is our momentum shift over there. This is new momentum that we're involved in right now. Things become a little bit simple like this. All we need to wait for is just for that corrective structure that terminates at this POI that allows us to get in with this upside momentum. Fairly simple for the buy. In terms of the sell, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think I want to speak about a sell on US30 now. I think let's just focus on upside continuation. If structure changes or whatever, we'll see how we change or what we update our structure to during the week. But let's just focus on one setup, the buy on US30. Let's move on to some NASDAQ. Let me be quick, guys, because it's like 5 minutes left of this session. So let me run through this a little bit quicker. NASDAQ, she played this game so beautifully, but at the same time, she was just so difficult. So if you guys remember, we said it's okay, fine. We accept that Google, the AI hype is just Google is just pumping the whole market, and fine, we'll accept it. We'll look to buy NASDAQ. We broke resistance. We've got some momentum. Last week, we were looking for continuation from this level of structure. We just broke below the level of structure, but nonetheless, okay, cool. She continued. The momentum continued. Now, what do we do? Let's continue. We've got momentum. Let's just keep looking for trades in the direction of this momentum. What we've got here, obviously, we broke some resistance. Oh, bad line. We broke some resistance over here. Nice momentum. What do we see over there? I see a nice momentum shift here. Someone will fight me, and okay, cool. If you want to fight me on this case, I really accept. I don't have a reason as to what makes this point of interest very valid because it does not break a level of structure. At least it did not break this level of structure. Maybe if we look left or whatever, we can force something. But yeah, let's just trade what we see. We'll take it with a grain of salt. It is a momentum shift. Unfortunately, it didn't break a most recent level of structure. But if price action does come inside of here, let's look to continue the upside momentum and see what we can find if she allows us this time to involve ourselves. But otherwise, I didn't involve myself. This was a setup that I wanted to trade. She didn't give an entry here. She broke below, and then she left without me. Painful, but it's trading. It happens. Yeah. Oh, I almost said Susien. CADJPY. Yo, guys, this setup is playing out to the T. She's looking beautiful. Let's be very fast and very quick. We have 3 minutes left of the session. So cool. We've got an ascending structure. We've got momentum, characteristics of a downtrend, managing to break a couple of levels of structure. Unfortunately, yes, we've got lows over there. Yes, we've got highs over here, but we want to trade in the direction of this momentum. So naturally, so what we are looking for, what our eyes are focused at, is that this is an impulse. We're looking for some sort of a corrective structure, and then we're looking for continuation of this momentum. At least now that we have this ascending structure, we've got a 90% rule. So the maths becomes easy. Let's not look to become millionaires. Let's just look to trade to the 90% rule of the structure over here. Let me delete all of this. We'll drop down on a 4-hour. So basically, daily, we're 100% bearish. 4-hour, we can all see this ascending structure. First touch over there, second touch over there. We're all expecting, or we can all see, we're at the third touch. But if you guys remember last week, we were expecting third touch to give us something. 1, we've got 2. Obviously, we can expect 3 that terminates where in line with this POI that does what? Increases the probabilities, makes everything look absolutely sexy. Yes, I love these setups of next week. Guys, we're bearish on AUDCAD. Ugh, AUDCAD. What am I saying? On CAD yen. So otherwise, all we're looking for is just now. Since we have a new smaller structure, this third touch is where we want to be. Price action is looking beautiful. We broke above these equal highs there. Obviously, plan, emergency plan. This is an emergency plan. If price action maybe decides that she wants to run away and not go all the way up there, then obviously we've got our equal highs that we broke above. If we see the momentum sending price action back below, managing to break a level of structure, then we just trade correction into this level of structure here, and we look for that downside continuation. Obviously, emergency plan if price decides to send from here, but if she's going back up there, let's exercise that patience because we'll get good risk to reward ratio and so much better probabilities. I love the setups of next week. Next week is looking absolutely beautiful. We're done. Mlizo says simplicity is key. Thanks for the session, brah. Let there be peace in the streets. Let our brothers and sisters be safe. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you guys for being part of the session, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for taking time to prepare. It's very important that we prepare. Like, even if you don't end up trading these setups, at least you had a plan. At least you saw what the setup is. At least you will be able to recognize the changes and see what goes on next week in accordance with your own understanding of what's going on in the market. So otherwise, yeah, let's call it a session. I will be here every weekend. Thank you so much. No stress. Sibongiseni there in the building. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Let me stop sharing screen. Let me end the session there. I'll see you guys in the groups. If you guys were late, you will catch the upload on YouTube. Let there be peace in the streets. Cheers, guys.